Hi, I'm Nietzsche and welcome to Vol TV's How Many Friends Have You Got? Today we are discussing online safety.
Hello, I'm Sinead, and in this programme we'll be talking about cyberbullying, how to remain safe whilst online, and taking a brief look at online security.
We will be informing you of the best ways to protect yourself when online with guidance from a professional from the Cyberspace Research Unit of the University of Central Lancashire, Dr. Joe Bryce.
Also, we'll be getting your views on the matter and looking at the film clips made by volunteers and watching some live music performance right here in the studio.
So let's get the show on the road. Here is our first video clip showing us what the people of Preston think about social networking on the internet.
How do I use Facebook?
I use Facebook, and MSN has recently set up something similar where you can link to other ones, and I also use one called My Yearbook. Facebook.
And Twitter.
Well, I used to use Facebook, but not these days.
Facebook's privacy settings, to be honest, just follow them.
I use an alias, I don't use my real name. One from a film which is quite common, so if anybody's looking for me specifically, they'd have to find everybody else with that name first. I've got a complicated password and I'm set to secure, so people can't get to my information.
Passwords for different websites.
So do I, and I don't click the remember me button, so.
At home we use quite a lot of encryption, but never leave it logged on, and I'm very careful what kind of information I put onto sites.
That I'm aware of now.
Not that I know of. My measures have been quite, successful.
Not that I know of.
No.
No, but I've got online banking. I shouldn't really be telling you that. I've got a Facebook, go on BBC Sport, usual. Quite a bit of time, to be fair.
Lots. I spend at least an hour a day on Facebook, and more on days when I haven't got any lectures or things to do, so quite a lot.
Quite a bit. Buy most of my clothes online. DVDs, social networking sites.
Yeah, most of my life as well, yeah.
Probably more than I'd like, thinking about it, because when we first got the internet I was convinced I'd never kind of use it, but now there's very rarely a day goes by when I don't use it for a couple of hours.
Got Norton, I trust Norton.
None.
I don't know the names. I got quite a lot once, about 1,000 viruses. That was quite fun.
I've never really had a virus, so I don't really know any of
Thing. Then for a Trojan horse, so it's not very well upon it.
That's what the people of Preston think. Last month we had the opportunity to catch up with cyberspace experts from Eli. Dr. Joe Bryce. Here is a short clip of what she and a research colleague had to say.
Well, I think if you think about health, there are some positives in that people who say, for example, have social phobia, they don't like meeting people face to face, or they have specific health problems which mean they can't go out, or they might have specific health problems that very few people have. The internet actually gives them the possibility to connect with other people who've got similar experiences, and the ability to make friends and kind of interact with people across the globe, not just locally. So although sort of it can have negative health, not going out and sort of being physically active, for people who aren't physically active or have other health problems, I think it can actually have quite a good positive benefit for them.
I guess the first one, which might be a negative, is the kind of health things. Like if you're spending all your time inside on the internet, you might not be going out to hang out with people, getting a bit of exercise, running around the street or that sort of thing, and lack of sunshine maybe if you spend all your time inside talking to people online.
So for people who are having all sorts of difficulties or problems, who just maybe don't have many friends offline, the internet is a real opportunity to make friends. Now the extent to which that's a real friend or not, it is kind of debatable, but I think the whole idea that people will stop having real life friends because they meet people on Facebook is a little bit of a kind of moral panic that the media and that like to put out there. ID theft is a big problem, and a lot of it actually happens because people are not very good with their personal information offline. So people throwing bank statements away and things that they get through the post that have got all sorts of, you know, address, date of birth, bank details on. But of course, one of the other key things now is that because banking and things like that are happening online a lot more, and at the same time people are putting a lot more personal information about themselves on things like Facebook, there's a real thing to think about what people might use the information that you put about yourself online for. So that can be for you know, all sorts of nasty things like, you know, being harassed and things like that. But people can use it to guess what your date of birth is, what your mother's maiden name is, all things that people usually use for passwords for online accounts, for banking and things like that. So criminals and people who like steal ID to commit fraud are actually using Facebook and things like that and stealing phones so they can get onto people's Facebook to look into their passwords and all that information. So there is kind of something to think about. Putting your information online is not just about being stalked or bullied or anything like that. It actually can be used to sort of steal your identity.
Helpful and interesting.
Well, it's time now for our first music performance of the show from one of our volunteers here to perform a cover track. Please welcome James.
I was born by the river, yeah, in a tenement. Oh, my poor mother, she could hardly pay the rent. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, yeah, and I'm afraid to die. I know what's out there, yeah, beyond the sky. It's been a long, yeah, a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. See, I go to my brother, yeah, and I say, brother, help me, please, please. And he winds up knocking me, yeah, back down on my knees. Ooh, times when I didn't think that I would last for long. Now we think we're able to carry on. It's been a long, yeah, a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Ooh.
Well, that's brought us to the end of our first part of the show.
Coming up after the break, we will take a look at cyberbullying and online security, as well as more live music performances,
including one by myself, so be sure not to miss the second part. To play us out right now, live in the studio, we have a poem performance. Please welcome Luke Jackson.
The internet. It's not all what it's cracked up to be. For some unlucky peeps to get threatened, harassed and humiliated by other deeply depressed teens because for some reason they get a kick out of ruining other people's dreams. It's not right, it's not fair, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm just trying to make my point clear. My friend killed herself because she was getting cyberbullied on MSN and Facebook. So if you want to start arguments about races, faces and places, then fair enough. But don't come to me for help when you brought the beef on yourself. I'll class you as an acquaintance. And if a situation like that was ever to pop off, to be honest, I wouldn't be there for you. because I've done that once before and I never want to feel the way that I felt the day they drove my best friend away in a hearse, then later got buried in the dirt, all because some childish intolerant thug was giving her grief. So just think what you're doing before you do it, because you don't know how many people it actually hurts. Imagine how a mum felt when she walked out the door in the morning to find her daughter hanging on a rope from the bedroom window. Now you sat there laughing and joking with your so-called mates, not even acknowledging that there's a broken home that you created. I mean, why should you? It's only my words and my opinion. But whilst we're on the subject, I just want to say that in a way it wasn't actually suicide, it was murder, and you caused it. You're the problem child, the sad little boy that acts like a cool kid just to try and fit in, bullying decent people to the point of self-destruction. My name's Luke Jackson, I'm a poet, not some kind of doctor, but I'm pretty sure you've got issues that need seen to. Peace.
Hello and welcome back to our Vol TV special about online safety. In the second half of the show we will take a look at risky behaviour online, internet security and cyberbullying.
But first up, here is Steph with the news.
Anti-Bullying Week of 2009 was held on the 16th of November through to the 20th of November for 2009. The theme was that of cyberbullying. This year, Anti-Bullying Week will be taking place on the 15th of November through to the 19th of November for 2010. The theme for this year's event is Sticking Together. The UK's Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre have recently released these figures. In 2010, 278 children have been safeguarded. 417 people have been arrested through CEOP in Allegiance reports. 96 sex offenders' websites have been dismantled, and the number of child protection professionals attending specialist training courses has now reached 3,370. Also, the CEOP have put a panic button on social networking sites for any children in danger. For CSV News, since April this year, CSV nationally has actively engaged 12,000 volunteers and has worked with 612 different organisations from various sectors. The cumulative number of full-time volunteers with volunteering partners has reached 637 and 2,204 part-time volunteers. This is a massive 37% increase on last year's figures. That's it for the news now. Back to Netch and Sinead.
Thank you, Steph. Next up we have another short film from young people at CSV. This time the short film explores issues about cyberbullying.
Facebook.
Just Facebook.
Yeah, that's about it.
No Twitter, used to do Bebo and MySpace, but lost them.
I used to do MySpace.
Just Facebook, pretty much.
Keep it to one, it's a lot easier.
It's more easy with one.
Just Facebook. I used to use MySpace, but it got boring.
Facebook is the main one.
Yep, a bit of MySpace.
From MySpace.
Twitter, do you update people on what you're doing?
I was on Bebo, but they deleted my password.
How dare they?
Facebook. Just Facebook. Facebook, I used to use MySpace.
Do you know?
Facebook, I use, but like there's Twitter and stuff, but I don't. Not good at it.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
You have answer.
Yes.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.